There are around 1 billion different Disney theories running around the internet, and it's hard to keep track of them all. People say that the Little Mermaid and Hercules are cousins, that Carl from Up is actually dead, and that Jane from Tarzan is actually the great-granddaughter of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. While some theories are clearly made by fans who are just spiraling down the rabbit hole, there are a couple that actually make sense. Today we'll be looking at 10 Disney princess theories that we totally believed but have been debunked. Join us as we uncover the truth once and for all. But before you do, we have one question for you. Do you love diving deep into videos about movies? Well then check out our friends over on Behind the Screen for even more theories, lists, and everything film. If you've seen Frozen, you might have spied the very exciting cameo that happens during the coronation of Queen Elsa. In this frame, at first glance, you may see an ordinary girl sporting a haircut that looks as though her hairdresser went a little bit out of control with layering, but take a closer look. For those of you who haven't quite made the connection yet, we'll give you a hint. This is none other than Rapunzel holding hands with Flynn Rider, meaning the two lovebirds must have hit the high sea in order to make it to Arendelle. Fans have suggested that Anna and Elsa's parents, King Agnar and Queen Induna, were actually setting sail to attend Rapunzel and Flynn's wedding, but sadly their boat capsized on the way over. In an interview, Mandy Moore, the voice of Rapunzel, set this theory straight. She said, "There is no connection as far as I know, but sure, people can imagine what they will all day, that's their prerogative." Plus, the theory itself would have been a pretty crazy timeline. It would be around 10 years between the ship sinking and Rapunzel's visit to Arendelle. The whole thing just doesn't add up. In truth, it's just a fun Easter egg. Building on that, there was another part to this theory that was also shut down. If the ship had sunk on its journey, then it would have been between Norway, where Frozen was set, and Germany, where Tangled was set. Fans argue that their shipwreck was the same one that Ariel visits in The Little Mermaid. Because Ariel hails from around Denmark, geographically it adds up. We've mapped it out and have discovered that if your boat leaves from Norway and travels south in the North Sea, Denmark is en route. For a moment, it made sense, and we were ready to believe it. Just think of the scene where Ariel drags Flounder along to play scavenger. This is the boat we're talking about. While rummaging around, she finds an old pipe that she takes home with her, as well as a fork that she later uses to comb her long red locks. Fans suggest that these objects could have been used by the late king and queen, which seems morbid, but also a nice connection. However, when the directors of The Little Mermaid, John Musker and Ron Clements, hear about this crossover theory, they chalked it up to a fan fiction. Sorry to burst any bubbles. In Disney's Beauty and the Beast, Belle is an all-around beast herself. She's a non-conforming daughter of an inventor and doesn't put up with anyone's tomfoolery, especially Gaston's. She literally walks around with her nose in a book without looking up to see where she's going. During the scene where she's visiting the village library, she borrows a book that she describes as being about far-off places, daring sword fights, and a prince in disguise. Sound familiar? Fans suggest that the book she's reading was actually Aladdin. Later, while singing to sheep, as you do, she says here's where she meets Prince Charming, but she won't discover that it's him until chapter 3. In Aladdin, Aladdin is disguised as a prince and only reveals himself to be a street rat to Jasmine later. Fans went wild for this, and we admit we joined on the bandwagon. It was only until Gary Truesdale, the director of Beauty and the Beast, spoke to BuzzFeed and admitted that the lyricist wrote the words as a foreshadowing of the story. The prince in disguise was actually just an allusion to the Beast, not the boy who hangs around with monkeys. Thank you, next! You may have heard that the character Pocahontas was based off of a real person. Well, it turns out that the animated story we saw and the real story are much different. In an article in The Atlantic, Sophie Gilbert praised Disney for finally having an adult woman of color at the forefront of the film. She writes about the film embracing an environmental message, giving the example of Pocahontas explaining the dangers of stripping the earth of its natural resources, and argues that it is a radical story about female agency. But after some research, we learned that this isn't the whole story. First off, the real woman who the character was based off wasn't even named Pocahontas. It was just a childhood nickname meaning Little Mischief. Secondly, she did not save John Smith nor fall in love with him. She was actually married off to a white man old enough to be her father. Additionally, her relatives were murdered and her culture was taken from her. A number of indigenous communities are unhappy with the film and have stated that they're fed up with Western culture only wanting to interact with their narratives if they're romanticized, or in this case, entirely fictitious. They say that the European conquest of the Americas should not be children's entertainment, and we have to agree. In May of 2016, the word on the street, aka the internet, was that owners of Black Diamond Disney VHS tapes may be sitting on thousands of dollars worth of flicks. On top of that, if you had Beauty and the Beast, then you literally and figuratively had your hands on the Belle of the Ball. As you can probably imagine, people went wild. Yard sales were never so popular, and eBay had a field day. The issue was, the blogs made the mistake of not making the phenomenon clearer. What had happened is that one person bought Beauty and the Beast for around $9,000, but it was a total fluke. After that, similar VHSs were listed at exorbitant amounts, but there were no active bids. There was a difference between what people were pricing their movies at and what people were actually willing to pay. While Black Diamond tapes are becoming collectible, they are anything but rare. You can still find them in second-hand stores being priced as low as $1. We're pretty sure if you know the right people, hoarders, you could haggle your way down to even lower. And hey, we advise you hang on to those oldies because you never know when VHS will make a comeback. Why is it that seemingly all Disney princesses are without parents, or more specifically without a mother?
Do you have daddy issues? I don't even have a mom! Neither do we!
Ariel is no exception to this trope. Up until the third Little Mermaid movie, her mother was very absent. The last moment we lay eyes on her, a pirate ship is coming straight for her, which ends up killing her. Fans have made a connection between Ariel's mom and Peter Pan. They theorize that in the scene where Peter is flirting with the mermaids, the one with the red hair is actually Athena, but younger. That would make Captain Hook and his pirate pack a group of mermaid killers. While it is true this mermaid had some similar physical features to Ariel, we aren't convinced. Also, Athena's eyes are green while this mermaid's eyes are red. On top of that, Athena is known for being excessively kind and good-natured. This little lady is ready to drown Wendy, which doesn't seem like something Athena would do. If that isn't enough for you, compare the two pirate ships. Captain Hook's is all flash with red and white sails and brown wood. Now take a peek at the ship that killed Athena. Case closed, our work here is done. We discovered that common theories involve the crossover of two movies. We searched through these connections and found the one that stood out the most to us was between Disney's Hercules and Aladdin. In Hercules, our hero is half god, half man. He's a good-looking dude, despite those weird, swirly little elbows, and spends the film trying to find where he truly belongs. Aladdin is completely different. The story is a folktale of Middle Eastern origin that follows a man and the genie he freed from a lamp. The two films could not be more different, but the fans still saw a connection. During the classic scene where Hercules sings "I Can Go the Distance," there's a moment in which he sees a shooting star go by. Fans believe that that star was actually Aladdin and Princess Jasmine jetting by on their magic carpet singing A Whole New World. While we wish in that moment we could have experienced a mashup hit single, instead it was just a flash on the screen. Our dreams were dashed when director Ron Clements confirmed that it was meant to be Pegasus as a shooting star, the character who ends up being Hercules' noble steed. The most popular Princess and the Frog theory has to do with Tiana's father, James. At the beginning of the film, we see what a loving father he is. On top of that, he can make a mean gumbo and teaches his daughter the art of cooking. Tiana and her family unfortunately lose him to war, and she spends the rest of the film trying to make him proud. The theory goes that James didn't actually die and that he is actually Dr. Facilier, the antagonist in the film. Let's break it down. The character design looks similar, and fans suggest that he is skeletal looking because he died but was brought back to life with voodoo magic. Fans suggest that he came back to life in order to provide for his family again, but lost his way amongst his friends on the other side. While we thought this was plausible because most bodies were lost in the war, the creators of the movie stopped us in our tracks. According to them, Facilier was actually supposed to be Mama Odie's son. On top of that, James was written as a courageous person who would never make a deal with nefarious forces. Sorry guys, false alarm. Our fascination with innocent characters from Disney movies having dark secrets make ourselves sick. For some reason, we can't get enough of it. There are multiple theories amongst Disney legends that claim various films were inspired by hallucinogens such as LSD. Take Alice in Wonderland, for example. In it, the caterpillar smokes from a pipe and the whole world is certifiably trippy. In Dumbo, there's the scene where the elephant drinks from a tub full of champagne and experiences the pink elephants on parade. The theory we would like to look at has to do with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. More specifically, it has to do with the princess's small helpers more than it has to do with her. Fans suggest that the personalities of the dwarf characters represent the 7 stages of drug addiction. They say that sleepy represents the changes in sleep patterns when using, that happy and grumpy together represent mood swings, that dopey and bashful are the alteration of personality, and that sneezy is the allergies that often arise from addiction. This theory, however, is bunk. Walt Disney and his animators have never been said to use drugs. Although during the 1930s drugs were all the rage, this group of people didn't partake. While Disney did create the names and distinctive personalities for the dwarves, he never stated that there was anything but playfulness behind the characters. Our final theory is about Moana and Lilo and Stitch. Fans argue that Maui is actually in both of them. What we know about Maui is this: he is a shape-shifting demigod who is a master of sailing and gave humanity the power of creation. In the movie Moana, he loses his magical fishhook during a fight with Tika, a volcanic demon. Over the course of the movie, Maui tries to get his fishhook back, which is located in Lalotai, the realm of the monsters. Here's the connection. In Lilo and Stitch, Lilo arrives late to her hula class because she's visiting her friend Pudge, a fish who has a taste for sandwiches. Lilo insists that she has the power to control the weather. Sound familiar? We thought that this fish was actually Maui in a shapeshifted form. Fans thought that maybe he was there looking after Lilo years after he met Moana. If you think about it, being a demigod, he does have the capacity for long life, so it seems like it adds up. Here's where the theory weakens. Maui needs his hook to shapeshift, yet we don't see it anywhere near Pudge during his scenes with Lilo. Also, there was a deleted scene where Stitch killed Pudge and laughed about it. We're thinking it wouldn't be that easy to kill a demigod, nor would it make sense to end Maui's life that way. Sorry guys, though it would be cool, this one doesn't check out. And now, here's something that's not a lie at all. If you like this type of content, you will be sure to love one of our brand new channels Behind the Screen, a place where we will go even more in depth about the inner workings of your favorite movies. Go ahead over there and let them know we sent you. We hope you feel some peace in finally putting these theories to rest with us. Do you have any insider information on any other debunked theories that we can add to our list? If so, please let us know in the comments below. We are always craving the satisfaction of solving these mysteries and need your help. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and keep up with the important work we're doing. See you next time.